So I think one of the things that makes the Jeet Kune Do process, the JKD process, what we do, what makes it different is the level of detail that we go into in the online lessons, okay? And, frankly, that's been both good and bad for us, right? Obviously, when you're learning online, the details matter that much more, right? Because you don't have an instructor there with you to, give you those little clues and hints, hey, make sure you tuck your chin or make sure you pivot your foot this way and angle your punch this way, right? You don't have that instant feedback, right? So it's important when you're learning online that you know and understand every detail of the technique, of whatever it is that you're learning, okay? So we go into a high level amount of detail in the online lessons, okay? So that's been great. But on the flip side for us, right, a lot of our students, frankly, get bogged down in the details, right? Because, human nature, right? Details are boring sometimes, right? We don't want to pay attention to the details, okay? It's just how we are, right? As human beings, a lot of times we just kind of want to gloss over the details. I just want to, start hitting stuff. I want to feel good and start punching and kicking, and I want to feel like Bruce Lee, right? So, but we miss those fundamental details. So things like what you'll learn about, right? And you'll learn about your on guard stance, okay? Having heel toe alignment, okay? Minor detail, but very, very important, right? And so a lot of times folks tend to gloss over that detail, right? Because they know it, right? Mentally, they know they need to align their lead toe and rear heel and kind of have that alignment in their stance. However, when they start moving and using footwork and punching and striking and things like that, what happens to their stance, right? They lose it, right? Same thing with keeping your hands up, right? Once you start punching and stuff and you start throwing things in combination, all of a sudden the hands drop, right? So it's training and instilling these details, these fundamentals at the early stages, at the beginning level, right? When you're first starting out, that's so important, okay? So please, it may seem tedious at times. I'm warning you this in advance, okay? As you go through the lessons, some of the material may seem tedious. It may seem like there's maybe too much detail, or you're maybe disinterested in all of that, right? But those little things matter, okay? So please focus on the details. Again, just because you know it mentally, right, doesn't mean that you can do it when the time comes, okay? I always tell people that, Bruce Lee said it best, right? Knowing is not enough, we must apply, right? So knowing it mentally is great, but until you can do it without thinking, right? Until your body naturally throws that punch, right? That straight lead or the cross, whatever technique you're doing, until your body can naturally throw that, right? Without thought, okay? Then you don't really know it, okay? You don't know it until you can do it without thought, okay? And that takes practice, right? That takes drilling the repetitions, okay? So part of it with our program is it's not a spoon-fed course, okay? What I mean by that is that we're not going to tell you, hey, on day one, you need to do, this footwork or this technique. On day two, I need you to work on this kick. On day three, so forth and so on, right? The program is structured for you to work through it at your own pace, okay? So you're going to get instant access to the whole curriculum, right? To all the lessons, okay? But don't get overwhelmed by that, okay? Take your time, right? Slow it down, develop your own pace, even if it's, 3 to 5 times a week, even if it's less than that, whatever you can do, right? But you do need to have some consistency in your training, anywhere 30 minutes to an hour, okay? Build that consistency, okay? Watch the videos, right? Take notes, okay? However you learn, okay? But I do recommend taking notes because that helps us to kind of memorize, right? And kind of know things, right? Mentally. And then, of course, drill it, right? Drill it in your own time, okay? And then focus on those details, right? So as you're working a particular technique, focus on, okay, am I pivoting my foot the way I need to, okay? Stop midway, right? Look down, okay, am I in the right, position, okay? These are the kind of things you'll have to do, right, when you're learning online, okay? You're gonna have to do that for yourself, okay? Another tip, right? Record yourself, right? You can record yourself doing the technique, okay, just to see what you see, right? Notice any, are you dropping your hand, okay? Some of these little things, right? So, those are the kind of things you want to be able to notice. And it's hard to notice those things as you're doing the technique in the heat of the, heat of the moments, so to speak, as you're training, okay? So definitely go back and watch yourself throughout that process. But those are some tips. I wanted to let you know that in advance, okay, to focus on the details. The details do get boring, okay, and folks do get bogged down, and a lot of folks just don't stick with it for that reason, okay? But again, Jeet Kune Do is not for everyone, okay? So, but if you want to learn, it's the details that makes the difference in the techniques. It's the details that makes a Jeet Kune Do punch a Jeet Kune Do punch, as opposed to a boxing punch or a Wing Chun punch or Taekwondo punch, whatever the case may be, right? It's the details that make all the difference. So, prime example of why and how the details matter, right? So, during his lifetime, Bruce Lee did a demonstration, right, at Ed Parker's tournament. Okay, very famous, demonstration, right? Really put him out in the spotlight at this event. Okay, but one of the things he demonstrated was the 1-inch punch, right? This is an idea and concept from Wing Chun Kung Fu. Okay, but the 1-inch punch, if you're familiar with it, he basically punches, his partner, right, from a very short distance away, okay? So there's no wind up, right? He's not winding his fist back and launching it, right? Nothing like that, right? It's a very small movement, right? But what makes that technique effective are the details, okay? So that's why details are so important, right? So for example, in that particular punch, just like in most of our punching, right, we generate power from the ground, okay? So we generate power from the ground up, right? So if your rear foot is not in the proper position, right, or if you're not pivoting that rear foot, okay, that's like a weak link in the chain, right? I always tell my students to imagine their body like a chain, right? So everything has to work together in unison, right, as one. Economy of motion, right, economy of form. Everything has to work together, okay? And if it doesn't, there's a weak link in that chain. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how big your muscles are and how physically strong you are, okay? If you're not using your body to the maximum efficiency, right, you're losing power, you're losing energy, right? That is lost now, right? That's not going into your target, okay? So the details is really what helps you develop speed and power in your techniques, okay? So don't try to necessarily hit hard, right, or hit fast, okay? As you improve your technique, right, your speed will increase and the power, right, because you'll be executing the technique right with your whole body, okay? So that's what we're trying to get to, and that's why we focus so much on the quote-unquote boring details.